Welcome to World Famous Gamers Black and White Forest Chess Lessons. This is the Journey to Chess Mastery series. I hope you find this information informative, clear, and understandable. Okay, welcome back, you guys. In this video, I'm going to go over some chess positions where we are practicing on reading the imbalances of the chessboard. In the video before, we did another diagram, but we went over the moves and what each one's plan was. In this one, we're going to go over the imbalances and try to read it for ourselves and see what our plans would be based on. Actually, no, we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to go over the imbalances only. Practice our reading the imbalances skills. Okay, so first one, minor pieces, the interplay between bishops and knights. So in this position, we got a bishop who's blocked in by his pawns. He's on the same color of these pawns. Dark square bishop, and we got a light square bishop. Now he's attacking the knight on e4, and he's also blocked in by this pawn on B5. Let me see. Can you guys? Okay. So, actually, you know what? I'll do that in the next video. Imbalances are, okay, minor pieces. First imbalance. We have two bishops, two knights. Black has two knights and two bishops. White's bishop is blocked in by the d4 pawn. His dark squared bishop is, his light squared bishop on d3 is blocked by his b5 pawn. The knights, this knight is developed. This knight's developed too, but he's on a second rank. He needs to be out and about more. Black's knight on e4 is sitting very nice on that e4 square, even though he can be traded off with this bishop. But he's attacking a lot of squares in White's camp. G3, F2, D2, C3, and so on. He obviously can't go back to C5, or can't go to C5 because the D4 pawn defends that square. His D7 knight is being controlled by the D4 pawn. It's good for White because now the Black knight can't move over to these squares. He's already got White's already got his enemy's knight on e4, which he's probably going to want to trade off. But then again, these pawns are on dark squares, so he might want to keep that bishop. Who knows? All we're doing for now is reading the imbalances. So they both got two bishops and two knights. This bishop's on a diagonal, very interesting diagonal. So if White does decide to take that knight and Black takes like this, boom, and then Black takes back, this will be good for Black, I think, because this knight's being chased off. He's got to go back, or he might go here and attack the pawn and the rook. But this gives the bishop more scope down this diagonal, down the A8, H1 diagonal, and gives him more breathing room where he can come down here, centralizing the bishop, which would be pretty good for Black. So White has to be very careful. This bishop's got a good range down here, queenside and kingside. So they both have their bishops and knights. Kind of hard to see who's got. I mean, I think Black's got a better position because there's bishops. This bishop's got a range here, and they're on kingside, queenside. Since this one's bad, well, because he's blocked in by his dark squared pawns, he might want to come over here and trade off for the good bishop. If it's white to move, then that would be a good move, because the only thing black has is to move the bishop back to one of these squares. In which case the bishop could come to b4, and if white plays bishop a3, the bishop comes down to b4. If he takes, pawn takes, the rook will have an open file and a weak pawn to attack. So it would be an interesting game, but the position is closed for the most part. So each side might want to get rid of their bishops and keep their knights, unless one of them can open it up, such as, say it's white to move, bishop takes knight, pawn takes. Let's just say he goes here, attacking the rook moves back. Oh wait, you know what? Never mind. He wouldn't go there, because then the queen will take the knight. Never mind. He'll go here to attack the pawn. Now, black has to be careful, because if it goes to defend, that would be solid, but the rook could be pinned by the queen coming down to b3, immobilizing the rook. But eventually, white's going to want to push this open after say he moves the knight out. He'll move this pawn up, and he'll have the bishops open diagonal, and this pawn will just chase the rook more so, or chase him back, gaining space, being protected by the queen, so the bishop wouldn't be able to come and get him. It's been a while since I've played chess, really, but I'm learning along with y'all, so bear with me. If you guys see something I don't see, then it's because I haven't practiced and haven't played in forever. I'm gonna go get the hold on one second. A bit warm in here. I've set this board up right. Boom. So what we got is, oops. Hold on, let me make sure you guys can, yeah, you guys got the whole board in view, okay. I had to plug my camera in. The other video might have cut off too soon, but I still pretty much got the whole lesson inside that video. Okay, this one is not here. Okay, so this is basically set up the right way. What I'm doing is, with this one, we're practicing the first lesson, and we're going over, like, since this one's about the imbalances, we're learning how to read the board. In the right place? Yes. Good to go. So, we had minor pieces. We're going over, looking at the board, learning how to read the board. First step is the list of imbalances. We went over the bishops and knights, minor pieces, bishops like open squares, knights like closed squares. The first one was minor pieces. The second one is pawn structure. broad subject that encompasses double pawns, isolated pawns, backward pawns, passed pawns, etc. We don't have no double pawns that I'm aware of. Nope, no double pawns. Check. Any isolated pawns? No. Backward pawns. This is considered a backward pawn. A4 is a backward pawn. And C7 is a backward pawn. Even though the pawn can come down here twice, protected by a bishop, knight, and a pawn. And yeah, he could be taken, but this pawn could still catch him that way. It's a French term called en passant, which means in passing. So he could take him, if he comes down to C5, black plays C5, the B pawn, the B5 pawn can take on C6. So we do have an isolated pawn called A4, or not an isolated pawn, sorry, backward pawn on A4 and C7. Let me see where else. Basically, that's the only backward pawns there are. Which, no, he's not a backward pawn because he's protected by F2. So that one's analyzed. We got minor pieces, pawn structure, space. White's got quite a bit of queenside space and central space, not so much kingside space. Black, I'd say, has maybe a bit more kingside space, because look at this bishop. This is the king side, from the E file to the H file, king side. Well, actually, from the F file to the H file. Well, actually, no, I'm right. E file to H file, that's king side. From the D file to the A file, that's the queen side. So you got this whole side of the board, queen side, where the queens are. And this side where the kings would normally be, right here and right here, is the king side. These are the central files. D and E are the central files. These three, A, B, and C files, is the queen side flank, left flank. This is the right flank. Central files, flank files are on the side. When talking about the king side and queen side, you just divide the board in half. King side, 4 that way, queen side, 4 to the left. So we got space on the queen side. You got the A4, B5 pawn. B5 pawn controls A6 and C6. This D4 pawn controls C5 and E5, so it's some central space, queen side space, but no king side space. Although you do have the knight attacking G5 and H4, you got this knight attacking G5 also and G3. And he's on the king side inside the enemy camp. This is white's territory from the 4th rank down. This is black's territory from the 5th rank up. So he's got a knight sitting on E4, attacking F2, D2, C3, C5, F6, G5. The rook's also he's on the king side. He's protecting the knight too. And all black has to do in 2 moves is like come over here, bring the rook over. He's got the D file on lockdown. So, space. Black does have some centralized space with this knight right here, and the pawns, with the pawn singular, controlling C4 and E4. D4 is under black's control because of the A5 pawn, and the B pawn, B6 pawn, is attacking C5. And the bishop comes down here on the queen side, so black does have some queen side and a little bit of king side space, I guess, because the only thing that's attacking for white in the king side is the knight. His knight attacks, this rook can come over, put pressure on the G file. He's attacking, this bishop on D6 is attacking this diagonal. So, black has some king side space. I think space is more determined by the pawns, where the pawns are. Like this pawn has given black some room to move behind him. but it's also controlling some of the queen side and the king side, and along with this a5 pawn and b6 pawn. But white definitely has more queen side space, because look at those pawns. Just boom, boom, taking territory already out in the queen side. So we've been over minor pieces. That's the first imbalance. Our second imbalance is pawn structure. We've been through that. Space is the third. Our fourth one is material. Now material is even. They both have bishops, they both have knights, both have king, queen, rooks. Look at the pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So material is even. Files and squares. Well, material is even. Nobody owns pieces of greater value than the other. They're both equal. Files and squares. Remember, files, ranks, and diagonals act as pathways. Like this bishop wants to go on these diagonals on the light colored. The black bishop, the dark squared bishop wants to go along this diagonal, or maybe come to a3 along this beautiful diagonal. And rooks want to go on files. Knights want to hop into homes. You know, if this wasn't here, a knight move, however he gets there, this would be a pretty good home for white. Development is who's got more pieces developed than the other. They both got their, I would say in this case, let's see here. White is behind, only because look, they both got, white and black have bishops developed, both bishops developed, both knights developed, but look at this rook, it's not only out, but it's up forward. This rook still has yet to move behind, and even when he does, he's got a pawn and a knight blocking him. This rook, and again, that's why I say it's temporary, because this rook can always, if you have a lead in development, it's very temporary. And sometimes you want to keep your opponent from being able to develop his pieces out. You want to start getting some action going. Develop your pieces faster and more effectively, and then keep them from developing their pieces, so you can just bum rush them and overwhelm them. It's like Napoleon did this, and one of those history lessons I learned about Napoleon, I think it was a book I read, but he would catch the city by surprise and overwhelm them with force. They didn't even have time to react. It's the same principle with chess. You want to make sure they don't have time to react to you, and you have all your pieces to where they could just boom, 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 and they have to bow down to your will in this game and your wishes. When you got more pieces developed, they don't have time to react. They don't have time to come up with their own plans. They have to react to yours. So all white would have to do is bring here, and there would be even in development. Initiative, dictating the tempo of the game. This is also a temporary imbalance. Okay. So it's been a while since I read the initiative part. I don't know exactly. I don't see if anybody's dictating any tempo of a game. Let's see. Black seems to, in this position, I do a space count differently than Jeremy Silman, I think. I don't know exactly how he does his space count, but this looks like black has more space with his pieces. I think, I think white has more space on the queen side, and I think it seems about even in the central, but black might have a bit more on king side because of this bishop, rook, knight, queen. Can come down here. So again, we got bishops and knights. Bishops. This one's a good bishop. This one's blocked in by his pawn. This is a bad bishop blocked by his pawn. We're going to learn what to do when you got that situation going for you. When you got a bad situation going for you, it's not going well for you, but what to do with these bishops. This one's a good bishop because he's on opposite color of these pawns. This one's good because it's the same thing, different colors. Notice these pawns are all on dark squares. He's on the outside. We'll get to that on another video. But for now, we're focusing on reading the imbalances, or listing the imbalances first. Bishops and knights, minor pieces. Interplay between bishops and knights. We have a pawn structure. Broad subject that encompasses double pawns, isolated pawns, backward pawns, pass pawns. Space, annexation, the taking of territory on a chessboard. Like this, for example, white's taking the queen side space and trying to attack the king side, or the central side of space. Same with black, they're both fighting for the central squares. I'm not talking too well today. Or tonight, I should say. Material, owning pieces of greater value than the opponent's. Both pieces, or both sides have equal amount of pieces. So nobody's got a material advantage. Files and squares. Half open C file right here. And half open E file. Files, ranks, and diagonals act as pathways for your pieces, while squares act as homes for your knights. And there's a whole lot of plans that can center around from the domination of a file or the creation of a weak square in the enemy camp. Like whole plans can center around that. Development, leading development, having more pieces out than your opponent does. In this case, we decided black has an advantage in development because he's got one of his rooks developed, not only developed, but out and about in the action, while white still has yet to get one of his rooks out. But this is very temporary because white can always catch up 9 times out of 10, depending on how the position goes and how the pieces are played. Initiative is dictating the tempo of a game, deciding this is how the game's going to be played. This is what we're going to do. You have to respond to my threats. It's also a temporary balance. So again, minor pieces, pawn structure, space, material, files and squares, development, and initiative. Don't forget to write those down and memorize them, because that's what's going to help you get good at this base foundation. This is like the base foundation of this. It's like you're going to take all your knowledge and you're going to build it on the knowledge in this book. It's like it's very concrete, like good grammar. When you have good grammar, you can construct your sentences very well and make clear messages known. Make your messages clear and known to whoever you're talking to or writing to. With these principles, it's like concrete. You build your house on the concrete slab. And it's like Jesus said, the wise man built his house on the rock. The foolish man built his house on the sand. If your foundation isn't solid, and you don't like memorize these or become really acquainted with these principles, you'll forget. You know, through time, it'll be like water hitting the sand, and the sand representing your knowledge just goes wherever you forget what you learn, but you become very well acquainted with this knowledge and build off of it. You will be winning more games and learning and knowing how to analyze every chess position that you look at, every single one. So that has been a black and white forest chess lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed it. In the next video, I think we're going to go over I don't know, I'm kind of wondering. Might do two more videos on the knights and bishops, or the imbalances, sorry. Just to give you guys a new position so you get the hang of reading the chessboard, reading the imbalances of the chessboard. So I will see y'all in the next video, which I'll probably do like 2 more, and then we'll move on to bishops and knights. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more. Peace out. God bless. See ya.